Dear students, welcome to our next lecture on the series of ethical case studies, especially of the previous year questions. So, we already discussed almost 14 case studies, and this would be our case study number 15. A classic case study that every civil servant may have to face one time or the other during their span of say 30-35 years of service, which has exactly been captured by UPSC, and it has been put as a case study in front of the students, the aspirants who are preparing for civil service, as to how one would react in similar circumstances. As I already said that if you become a civil servant, every one of us might have to face that. So, what this case study is all about? Let me just brief you about this particular case study. So, this case study is about an officer who is at the rank of joint secretary, and the name of the officer is Rashika. So, Rashika is going through some of the problems in her service, not just because of the external problems, but because of the work itself, the nature of the work itself. Rashika, being a joint secretary, being a senior officer in the government, is facing it difficult to draw a line between her professional responsibilities and the personal responsibilities. She is now feeling that she is overworked, and not only that she is overworking, but she is also feeling somewhere that she is not able to take care of her children, and especially she is having a very young children of the age of 3 years and 5 years, and she is not able to pay enough attention. And things are worsened that when she gets a call from her boss, and she was asked to work on an immediate report which may have to be presented next week, and she realizes to complete this particular work she might have to work on Sunday as well, which is of course the only holiday she has got in a week. So, this is not one time incident, and this has been now recurring for a number of times. And on top of that, she recollects that last month only, that when her baby was sick, when her child was sick, and she was not there to take care of the child because of the work commitments, and rather she has to leave it at the care of the nanny, the grandmother who has to take care of it. So, all these things keep coming to her mind, and now she feels that she is not performing her personal responsibilities properly. She is somewhere failing as a mother, despite the fact that she feels that she has been doing a good job. But now she is thinking that is it worth enough to ignore my personal responsibilities and to take care of my professional responsibilities? Am I doing my job properly? So, she is now in a classic ethical dilemma. Not only an ethical dilemma, but she is also undergoing a lot of emotional trauma, that personally she is not taking care of her responsibilities. And now the work pressure is taking a toll on her personal life. So, she is emotionally unstable to cope up with this particular incident. So, this is again a case of emotional intelligence as well. As an officer, we need to be emotionally intelligent in not only understanding the feelings of others, but in also understanding our own feelings. So, this is the case study that has been presented. So, in this case study, we will also try to understand as to what are the directives that is given in the question. So, once we understand the directives, we will also try to understand as to how to approach this particular case study. Now, this is Babu Gunashekaran. I am also the faculty for Indian Polity and Governance in StudyIQ English. I had secured an All India rank 337, and I am also an IAS rank holder. So, now let us just directly get into the case study. We will try to understand as to what are the various directives given in the question. I just explained briefly, summarized briefly as to what is this particular case is all about. Now, just come to the various questions that is given, what is the various directives that is given in the question. Discuss the ethical issues involved in this particular case. So, one ethical issue I directly said, one ethical issue is balancing between the professional responsibility and the personal work. Of course, yes, taking care of your work is very, very important. You have to be dedicated to the duty, it is very important. But equally important is also you play your role personally to your, as a mother to your child, as a wife to your husband. So, all these roles has to be taken care of. Although in this case, Rashika her position is even worse because of the fact that her husband is also working in an MNC, which is also given in the case study. Her husband is also working in an MNC and who is also equally busy. So, there is nobody to take care of their children, and that is the worst part in this particular case study, that she is feeling so sad and she's so tired of her work and of the fact that she is not able to take care of her personal responsibility. Now, the next thing is briefly discuss at least 4 laws that have been enacted by the government with respect to providing a healthy, safe and equitable working environment for the women. So, what are the laws that has been provided? Not especially in this particular case, but in general. There are a lot of women who are working and women working in different organizations and different may undergo different levels of problem and different degrees of problem. So, taking into consideration all these things, what are the various laws that has been enacted in order to protect the women? That is the second thing. So, this is more a direct question. So, this is related to the case study that you have discussed. Now, option C, imagine you are in a similar situation. What suggestions would you make to mitigate such working conditions? Suppose if you are in a position of Rashika, what kind of suggestions will you give so that to reduce the problem that she is facing right now? So, in order to avoid that, what kind of suggestions will you give? So, this is exactly what is the directive that is given in the question. So, let us try to understand how to answer this particular question. So, but before I proceed to the question, so here you can see StudyIQ has launched its new foundation batch for the month of October, and this particular course will have different validities. It will have a validity for 1 year, it may have a validity for 2 years and 3 years. So, depending upon the course that you are opting for. So, students who are usually in the colleges, they can opt for the long term courses also, which will have higher validity. So, till the time they can complete the courses, their courses in the college, they can continue with this particular course also, and that will be beneficial for them at the time of the examination. So, all these courses will be available in all the languages, that is in the English as well as in the Hindi language. And to get more information on these courses, you can go to StudyIQ website, you can download the brochure. And if you feel you are interested in these courses, to get an additional discount on these courses, you can use my code Babu Live. Okay. And the date on which the courses are to commence is on 10th of October 2023. All these courses would be online courses, and this batch is an evening batch. The batches will start from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. That is the timing of these batches. So, with that we will just quickly move and let us try to understand more about this particular case study. So, whenever you take up a case study, there should be a general approach that you should try to understand the various stakeholders in this particular case, and also try to understand the subject matter. Subject matter is a larger theme upon which the entire case study is revolving. So, here it is more related to emotional intelligence because she is emotionally disturbed and she is not able to balance and she is not able to control her feeling, in this case Rashika. And also the civil service values. As a civil servant, you should be dedicated to the service, and sometimes yes, you will have to compromise on your personal life, but not always. So, it is somewhere between how effectively you are looking into the values of civil service and also how good are you in managing your emotions. I think this is exactly where this particular case is all about. And when I talk about emotional intelligence, it is about also the boss who is giving work to Rashika. And is he emotionally intelligent in understanding as to what is the mental state of his subordinate. So, this is again very important to look into all these things. And who are the stakeholders here? Rashika, her family, especially the children. Mr. Suresh in this case is the senior officer of Rashika who is giving the work, and for which Rashika is feeling that she has to work on the weekend, and this has become now a recurring incident. And of course, the government, sometimes in the government this has become a very normal thing, especially when you are in police service and all those things. So, under such circumstances, now we will look into the directives, we will try to find an answer to these directives. Okay, discuss the ethical issues involved in this particular case. So, one of the classic ethical issue in this particular case is how to balance between professional responsibility and the personal responsibility. In the interest of professional responsibility, if you compromise on the personal responsibility, that is also not a good thing. So, who is going to take care of the young kids? Their education is very important, their health is very important, and as a parent, she has to spend time with them so that their developmental stages, they go through the proper developmental stages, mentally, emotionally, physically. So, if you take care of too much of this and if you compromise on this, that is a wrong thing. If you take care of too much on this, if you compromise on this, this is also a wrong thing. So, you will have to balance between this, but she is not able to balance this. So, that is the ethical issue here. Duties of a young mother towards her children. So, as a young mother, she has a lot of duty to perform. Just now we have discussed that. If she is not able to do that, then that's again an ethical issue. Civil service values. So, civil service values talks about being dedicated to the service, passionate about what you are doing. So, if you are dedicated to what you are doing, is it okay to compromise on your personal responsibilities? So, that is again an ethical issue. So, these are all some of the ethical issues in this particular case. Now, the next directive that is asked is briefly discussed at least 4 laws that have been enacted by the government with respect to providing a healthy, safe and an equitable working environment to the women. One is of course the Maternity Benefit Act, very important. Today the Maternity Benefit Act takes care of the requirement of the women who has delivered a child, and the woman is now able to get 26 weeks of paid leave, and this leave can be taken at any point of time, right before 2 weeks the estimated delivery date till the time the child attains 18 years of age. So, yes, that this is a good law which takes care of the women. Prevention of Sexual Harassment of Women Act 2013. Before that, there was a Supreme Court judgment, uh, which is also called as the Vishaka Guidelines, given by the Supreme Court in 1997. But 16 years after that, the Parliament has enacted this particular law, which is the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act 2013. And then we have the Factories Act. Of course, the Factories Act tried to regulate the working hours, the working conditions, not only for the women, but as women can also be covered under this. So, this is again to protect their health and all those things. Equal Remuneration Act to prevent any form of discrimination between men and women, especially to avoid the gender discrimination and to prevent gender injustice. This act has been brought in. Minimum Wages Act. This is again gender neutral law, but women can also immensely benefit out of the Minimum Wages Act, so that minimum wages are paid to them. Otherwise, it can lead to what is called as the bonded labor or other forms of forced labor. So, to avoid to all those things, the Minimum Wages Act is there. So, all these laws can immensely benefit women. Certain laws are gender neutral, but of course, yes, women are also protected under these laws. Women are especially protected by the Maternity Benefit Act and the Sexual Harassment Act, but the other laws are gender neutral, but yes, women do get benefit out of these laws, which can be part of your answer. Now, come to the last part of the question. Imagine you are in a similar situation. So, what suggestions would you make to mitigate such working conditions? That means, in this case, you will have to put yourself in the position of Rashika, the Joint Secretary Officer, who has been continuously working, now feeling demotivated because of the fact that she is not able to take care of her personal responsibilities, somewhere compromising her role as a mother, and she has completely now burnout, and now she feels that she has to draw a line between the professional work and the personal responsibilities. And it is also giving some kind of hint that the work environment in which she is working, probably her boss is not taking into account of her continuous contribution and continuously giving her more work, and especially unplanned work. That is what is hurting her more. So, under such a circumstances, what kind of suggestions will you give? So, first is try to improve the work culture. So, work culture improves everything, the kind of leadership in the organization, the kind of communication, the way that the work is allocated, no ad hoc work mostly. Yes, we do understand that there are certain things beyond our control, especially when it comes to the government. At the last moment, yes, there could be few things, but yes, it should not be a regular incident, because then it could demotivate the even a good employee might get demotivated. Even a good officer with a lot of civil service values and self motivation, they can also get demotivated. So, yes, one is improve the work culture, the way that the work is allocated, that is one thing. Emotional intelligence and empathy. Emotional intelligence both on the part of Rashika. So, she may also have to work, she may also have to understand that sometimes this is not something which is planned, or she is not the only one who is doing like this. Probably there are also other officers. Probably she has to control her emotions for a short while, probably then she will be normal. So, that is one way. And her officer, her senior officer should also have empathetic towards the kind of lifestyle she is having, and that should also be taken into consideration, or maybe the work could be allocated to somebody else, if at all there are certain other resources. And most importantly, the empathy towards the others. So, empathy is our ability to understand others. So, as a civil servant, everybody have should have this particular quality of being empathetic. So, empathy is very, very important, putting yourself in others' shoes so that you understand the problem that they are undergoing. So, accordingly, you can act and react. Improving resource allocation. So, when you talk of improving resource allocation, this is again very important. So, what is this improving resource allocation? So, when you talk of resource allocation, so sometimes this happens in the government that people who are doing well, they continuously being given more work. So, it is very important that people who are not doing the job, probably they should be warned, or probably they should be trained. Although these things are not within the scope of this particular case study directly, but these things may also be taken into consideration so that only very few employees or only very few officers are not overworked. Because if they are overworked, probably they may be the best officers, but they may have there's a possibility that they may lose their motivation. Probably there is a possibility that they may lose interest in what they do, and especially when they are not able to take care of their personal responsibilities, especially when they are women, it is going to hurt them the more. So, all these things has to be taken into account, and in a way opportunities has to be provided, platform has to be provided where they could balance between their professional responsibilities as well as the personal responsibilities. That is one single important factor in this particular case study. All right. So, with that we will end the case study number 15. So, in the next lecture we will again come out with one more case study, that would be case study number 16 from the Civil Service Examination 2023. All right. So, thank you very much, all the very best for your examinations and your future. God bless. And if you want the PPT of this particular presentation, you can get it from my Telegram channel, that is Babu Gunashekaran 337. And if you want an important updates on the current affairs and questions related to current affairs, you can get it from my Telegram channel. Thank you very much. Once again, God bless.